The book I used for my interdisciplinary literature unit was Grand Canyon, written by Jason Chin, and is written for students 2nd to 5th grade, though I don't believe it could be read independently until around 4th or 5th grade or an advanced 3rd grader. The book is a nonfiction book written as a story, and throughout the book, the illustrations follow a girl, though she is never given a name, as she explores the Grand Canyon and the history of it and travels through it. Along the sides of many of the pages, there are a variety of charts depicting landform, layers of rocks, animals, plants, and other things as she travels through. At the end of the book, there are 5 pages of information about the Grand Canyon, including the history of the humans that have lived there, the ecology, including forests and rocks, and how the Grand Canyon is believed to have been formed. This also includes information about the Colorado River, the Grand Mystery, the story behind the rocks. And then following these pages at the end of the book, there are also follow-up books, websites, and the resources Jason Chin used as he was researching to write his book. My interdisciplinary literature unit is written at a 4th grade level, and I used some of the 4th grade standards to research some of my activities. My first activity is the 5th activity under my math. The activity is titled Planning a Trip and involves the students planning a trip to the Grand Canyon, including things like finding a hotel room, searching for plane tickets, maybe renting a car depending on what they choose, and it focuses mainly on the financial aspect of the trip. The student will be given a budget they need to stick to, some activities they would have to include, a few places they would have to visit, as well as freedom to choose the other activities as they plan their week-long trip. The girl throughout the book travels to many different places throughout the Grand Canyon, and the students will be able to make connections to this girl even if they had never traveled there before. My second activity involves social studies activities 4 and 5 and is a 2-part activity. Activity 4 involves students working in small groups to research a Native American tribe, which would include things such as the tribe's history, where they came from, how they would make a living or survive as they lived within the Grand Canyon, and then present their findings to the class. And then following this activity, they would be given part 2, where they would research the tribe's living conditions, the home they would live in, what it was built out of, where it is in the Grand Canyon, and how they would live in that house, since it explains within the book how certain parts of it is warmer than others and how it gets very cold at night. And then at the back of the book, as well as in a few illustrations within the book, it shows and talks about these tribes so the students could use the book as a section of their research, as well as use other outside resources. And then that part 2 of that activity also connects with one of the relating arts activity, where the student would build a small model of that home to share with their classmates. And then my third activity is a language art activity where the students will write 5 journal entries, 1 for each day of the week, and the student will write their journal entries from the perspective of the girl traveling through the Grand Canyon, or they could write it as themselves, like they are the ones traveling through the Grand Canyon, seeing the things, or use the girl from the book if they don't have that quite deep thinking skills yet. And then they would use the book to show like the different things that they travel through, and then they can also use the virtual field trip video, which is one of my related science activities. And then as the students write their journal entries, they would be able to write about anything they would like to relating to the Grand Canyon, including any of the variety of the topics we have talked about. So the day 1 would be something that we have talked about that day, but day 2 could be something from day 1 or day 2, depending on what they feel like they have learned the most about. The journal entries would also be tailored to differentiation, allowing the students who are below level to write less, use shorter sentences, things like bullet points or small drawings, since the activity is more about content and not about the formal writing of the responses. For students who are above level, they would incorporate the vocabulary words we have learned throughout the unit and use longer, more developed sentences, and maybe even deeper research and other things from the book and other websites as they had time.